Hello friends, it's Lex at LexReads, and welcome to day 2 of Video Every Day in April. We're doing an oldie but a goodie from this channel. Not really, it's actually a pretty new series, but today you might be saying, Alex, I didn't know you loved classics. I love some classics. I'm going to share with you what those classics are, right here, right now. We're going to start with my honorable mention, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland / Through the Looking Glass. This copy has both. If you haven't read it, you really should. I'm sure you've seen one of many of the movies, the adaptions, the things that are inspired by. They deserve rights because these books, phenomenal. Love them. We stan. Alright, my number 5 recommendation for classics is A Separate Peace by John Knowles. This book is one of my favorite classics. It follows Jean and Phineas and is set at a boarding school during the early years of World War II, and it's a coming-of-age story about losing one's innocence, not specifically due to the war, but during wartime. This is like pre the word bromance, but like the bromance is real, the sadness is real. One of my favorite books I've ever had to read for school. I own a copy because I like it so much. Number 4, we have Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. You know what it's about. It's a lot darker than a lot of the adaptions make it seem. It's a really, really good book. And I highly, 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 highly recommend it. In number 3, we have The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This was my senior book. So at my high school, every senior picks a book, reads it, and then writes a paper on it in order to graduate. And The Bell Jar was my pick. This is a semi-autobiographical novel that follows Esther Greenwood in an approximation of Sylvia Plath's life. The prose is stunning. The story is stunning. If you like historical fiction, it's not technically historical fiction because it was written in the time period, but it's really good. It follows and details Esther's breakdown. Esther is a talented, intelligent, successful woman living in New York, I believe. Well, either way, haunting American classic, one of the best books I've ever read. You should go and check it out. My number 2 pick I don't actually own a hard copy of, turns out, which I need to remedy because it's one of my favorite classics of all time. And that's if you haven't read The Lord of the Flies, or you didn't like it when you were younger, I highly, highly, highly recommend that you go and pick it up because this book is amazing. I read it in 8th grade for my 8th grade project, and then again when I was a freshman. There's something so haunting and beautiful about this story. We stan Simon. We love all of the metaphor. William Golding, I believe it's the author. Phenomenal job. And you should go read it. And also go watch the original film, because it's also really good. A second honorable mention, which I'm not really going to talk about, but I just want to shove on in there. If you haven't read The Catcher in the Rye, you should. And if you have read The Catcher in the Rye, but you read it when you were a kiddo and you didn't like it, I recommend you go and give it a reread because it's a really good book, y'all. It's a really good book. And my number 1, which I don't have my copy of handy in my hands right now because it's at school, because I love it so much that I keep it with me so that I can reread passages and stuff, is my favorite classic of all time, All Quiet on the Western Front. Anytime I talk about All Quiet on the Western Front, it surprises people. And I'm not entirely sure why it surprises people, but I guess something about a World War I book doesn't resonate with, my fave, which is fair. I'm not usually a huge, war book person. Okay, so All Quiet on the Western Front was written by a German veteran of World War I. And this book chronicles the mental, physical, and emotional toll that the war took on German soldiers. And I think there are a lot of stories from the Western, the American, the British, the French perspective during World War I and World War II, but I don't think we get to see enough of the other side. And we read this when I was a sophomore in high school, And I remember being so taken aback by how human the narrator of the story is. This book has really, really helped me empathize with people who might not necessarily think the same way as me. There is a scene in that book that still, to this day, every time I think about it, haunts me. I wake up thinking about it sometimes, and I'm just like, the pain, because it's so beautiful. It's so beautifully done. And I don't think it's a classic that very many people have read. So I really, really, really think you should go check it out. Well, yeah, friends, that's all I got for you today. Those are the 7 classics that I recommend you pick up. Go down below and let me know what you think about those books, because like I said, they are some of my favorite novels that I've ever read, and some of them I don't think get the recognition that they so desperately deserve. I post a new video every Thursday, except as you may have noticed, this month I'm trying to do a video every day. So I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me.